from My Dreaming Soap. Welcome to my channel. Thanks for dropping by. Today we're making a festive soap and we're going to be doing a gingerbread man. Now I'm going to do a scraped layers, and really for the main bulk of my soap I just need two colours. I need my background colour, which I'm going to do as a reasonably pale green, and then I'm going to do my gingerbread person, let's call it, as a brown, but again a reasonably lightish brown. I don't want a really dark brown. So because I'm going to do a scraped layer technique, I'm going to be using these colours several times. So I'm going to colour all of the oils up front, and then as I use them the colour should stay consistent through each time that I use them. So I'm just going to weigh out the mica that I've worked out that I want. And this is chestnut brown, this first mica that's going in, and that's from You Make It Up. And then this second one is Tropical Green from Mica Mama. Now this is quite a lot of oil here, and I'm only putting a small amount of this green in, and I'm also going to be putting in quite a bit of titanium dioxide because I just really want the lightest hint of green. And then the last thing I've got is my titanium dioxide. Now this looks quite thick and pasty. That's just because I've dispersed it already, but I just dispersed it in some of my batch oils. And I just dispersed it and made it as a thick paste from these batch oils. And I actually took the oils from this portion here. Okay, so that's just adding those oils back in. Right, so now I've got those, I'm just going to go through and get those mixed in and blended up. Okay, so there's that light green, and I think that's just right really. That's just what I want, a sort of very, almost just a tiny weeny hint of the green. I guess kind of almost looking a little bit pepperminty or something. And then let's do our brown. Again, just oils at the moment. Now this brown looks really dark at the moment, and perhaps quite a bit darker than I actually want it for my soap. But that's just because I've just got mica dispersed in oil. And I've used this brown in here at a rate of 0.2% of mica to oils. Whereas normally I would use this brown to actually get a brown colour at 0.6%. So I've only, as you can see, I've put a third of the brown colouring in. So what should happen as that mixes in with the lye and we get the more opaque nature of the soap, hopefully that should lighten that colour down a little bit. Okay, so those are my oils all mixed up, and I'm just going to leave those to sit. I will need to remember to stir them once again once they've sat. I kind of like preparing my oils a little bit early. Sometimes people moan about getting bubbles in their soap, and we all know the tricks of things like pouring down your stick blender and that sort of thing. I often find it's quite important to get your oils into your containers you're going to mix them in as early as possible too. Because every time you pour oils from one container to another, you will even if you use a spoon, you will create some bubbles. And I don't know if you can you see on the top of that brown? There are some tiny, tiny little bubbles. Now, by me preparing these early, it gives those bubbles a chance to disperse whilst I'm just going around doing some other bits and pieces, and more chance of a super smooth, bubbleless soap. So whilst I've been letting those oils settle, I have extruded a few little bits and pieces. So I've just made a little sort of smiley mouth, not sure how well you can see that, in white. And then the other bits I've got in white, so titanium dioxide, are 2 white eyes, because they would normally be made of some icing. And then some little wiggly bits to go sort of halfway down the gingerbread person's legs. And then 2 red buttons and a little yellow bow tie. Okay, so those are all my bits that I've extruded. And then fragrance oil, not surprising, I'm using a gingerbread fragrance oil. Now this gingerbread fragrance oil is from Craftovator in the UK. It does discolour to this sort of, I guess, almost gingerbread colour. So it does discolour a bit, a reasonable amount, but it's not super, super dark brown. So it may have some effect on this green that I'm using, but I'm hoping that the titanium dioxide will do something about that. But we'll see. If it ends up a little bit of a more of a muskier sort of darker green, then that's okay. And obviously it's going to have limited effect on my brown here, because if anything, hopefully this will go a bit lighter once I start mixing it in with the soap. I may even add a tiny touch of TD if I still think that's too dark. Okay, so there's my fragrance oil that I'm using. So I've just measured out the amount of green that I need for this first layer, and I made sure I gave that mixture a really good mix before I weighed out what I needed, and my lye solution. Now I have allowed these, and I've actually warmed these up a little bit, so that they're around about 100 degrees. Normally I soap lower than that, but this is a fragrance oil that's fairly slow moving, and I don't want to hang around all day waiting for it, so I'm soaping a little bit a little bit warmer than I normally would. So that 100 degrees should speed me along a little bit. Change. That fragrance oil it's not even a fragrance oil, is it? Sorry, no, it's the green. It's not the green. It made me think it was the fragrance oil there with that colour change. That was that green reacting straight away to the lye that was gone in. And we know greens often morph, don't we? So you can see it's completely, that lye has completely destroyed that green, as it were. But as we know, greens typically do come back after saponification, so it will be very interesting to see if I get any hint of the green back, as well as the fact, remember, it's got to battle slightly against that fragrance oil, so it's going to be very interesting when this is saponified. Okay, I'm just going to add my fragrance oil in, and as it's all a single colour, I am going to give this a little blend in. I'm still surprised about that funny green. We'll see it again when I do another layer. Now you will often find with me that I typically don't like to blend my fragrance oils in, but again, if it's a single colour, then that's great. The other time I do like to give them a blend is when they're a discolouring fragrance oil, like this is. Because quite often what you may find is that you don't actually mix them in really, really evenly sometimes. And then what happens is the discoloration is uneven throughout your soap. So blending in. Okay, as you can see, I'm at a pretty good old trace there. So I'm just going to get that into my mould. Again, it's my first base colour, so just pouring it into the bottom. And just hoping that all my calculations are right and that I've got this to the area that I want. Now, because of the shape of these scrapers, I'm going to be scraping out quite a lot of soap with this design. And what I've done therefore is I've decided that I'm actually going to make a second soap alongside this. Not the same design, I'm just going to do sort of a more layered, sort of, not a straight layered, but a more sort of like jaggedy layered, uneven, textured. That's the word that I'm looking for. Sort of like a textured layered soap to go along with it. So what I'm going to be doing is, as I scrape my excess off, I'm going to be saving it to the side. Now that will thicken up, but what will happen is that will not be enough to complete my second soap. So therefore I will measure what I've scraped off, and then I can add to that what I need, and adding that fluid soap in will thin it all down again, and I'll be able to get to my layered soap for my second soap, and that will mean I'll use up all my scrapings straight away. Okay, so here are the little scrapers that I've made. Now, because of the shape of the gingerbread person, I'm going to be making it upside down in the mould. So I'm going to scrape out the head and shoulders first. Okay, so as normal, I just tend to go in and clear off some of the excess.
Whoa, oh, oh. La, da, 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 oh, oh, oh. La, da, 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 oh, oh, oh. La, da, da, da. Making our Christmas memories. I've been working so much lately, I can barely find the time to sleep. Yeah, I spend my time running around, keeping people pleased. But this is my favorite holiday. It's a chance to
Okay, so here's our first brown layer, and can you see how much lighter that is now because we've mixed it and made it into soap batter rather than just the pure oils. As I said, that was because I just used like a third of the normal mica that I would use if I wanted a good strong dark brown. So that's sort of come to a good colour. Now with this one I didn't soak with it as hot because as I put the head into my gingerbread person, I want to be able to slip the embeds in for the eyes and the mouth and all that sort of thing. So I can't afford to have it thickening up too quickly. So I'm just going to wait for it to come so I do have a trace, and then we'll start pouring that.
It's a chance to start over new, 'cause I missed you, so I'm letting go of everything but you. These are the good times with you. Baby, this year it's just gonna be you and me. Hang by the fire and chill. Isn't this how it's supposed to be? Making our Christmas memories. Oh, and I've been longing to hold you close. Forget about everyone else. Isn't this how it's supposed to be? Making our Christmas memories. Oh, oh. La, da, 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 oh, oh, oh. La, da, 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 oh, oh, oh. La, da, da, da. Making our Christmas memories. I've been wrapping presents for you. I've been hanging marbles in the tree, and I've lit my house with Christmas lights, so you should come back home to me. And when we wake up in the morning, I'm gonna play those carols that you love. We're be singing all the melodies until the sun comes up. These are the good times with you. Baby, this year it's just gonna be you and me. Hang by the fire and chill. Isn't this how it's supposed to be? Making our Christmas memories. Oh, and I've been longing to hold you close. Forget about everyone else. Isn't this how it's supposed to be? Making our Christmas memories. Oh, oh, la da da da, oh, 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 la da da da. Making our Christmas memories. Yes, these are the good times with you. Don't even care what we do if I spend it with you. Just you and nobody else. It's so good to see you again, to see you again. Baby, this year it's just gonna be you and me. Hang by the fire and chill. Isn't this how it's supposed to be? Making our Christmas memories. And I've been longing to hold you close. Forget about everyone else. Isn't this how it's supposed to be? Making our Christmas memories.
And there's us done. I'm going to pop that in the oven to see pop, and then we'll have a look at what it's doing and what that green's doing tomorrow. Hi everyone, welcome back. As we can see, here's our soap the next day, and the magic disappearing green did actually come back, which is great news, and it doesn't really seem to be affected by the slight discoloration of that fragrance oil. Because remember, I had quite a bit of TD in there as well. So hopefully it's going to stay that light green. Let's have a look, see how our gingerbread man's come out then, shall we? Okay, so let's have a look at what we've got. Oh look, he's all quite wonky, isn't he? Bless him. Oh no, I tried very hard to put those things in the right place, but we've got a little bit of slippage through there, but he's quite funny. Can see actually that this is going to discolour a little bit more. Let's have a look. Let's just grab another one. Can you see that I do actually have a slight discoloration ring around there? So that is going to go to this colour more on the edge, which is fine, and we'll see how they develop over the cure. So here are our little gingerbread men after a full cure, and you can see that green has completely disappeared. Where I had that green border, it's now gone to a light tan border, but that's okay because the gingerbread man still shows up. These soaps have been released as part of the Christmas shop update, so why not pop over to the shop and see what I've still got available at this point in time. It has been a couple of weeks since that update happened, so some of the soaps will have sold out by this point. I hope you've enjoyed this video and you like the soap. If you have, it would be great if you gave me a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see what I'm making in the future, then why not subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching everyone. Happy soaping!